So we are back with this special episode of Speak for Yourself, Juneteenth edition, here with none other than the founder of Juneteenth Jubilee Detroit, Sharea Ayers. What up, Doe?
Thanks for having me.
No problem, no problem. Glad to have you. One of the things that we always ask people to do is introduce themselves, right? Like, you know how introductions go when people are out in public spaces and doing speaking engagements and stuff like that. People be like, trying to make it sound super hype and you know, rightfully so. I think we have some amazing folk that's been on this show, but are out there in general. But I always feel like, man, I probably would have said something else about myself when somebody tried to read a resume and something that doesn't feel natural to me. So
yeah, the bio.
Yeah.
Right.
How would you introduce yourself to our viewers?
That's a good question. Just because I've been so conditioned to be ready for my spiel, you know, so. I mean, honestly, I would introduce myself as somebody who really is just very, very fortunate and favored. And the thing is, yep, fortunate and favored. So the thing is, like, we all have our history and our backgrounds with certain things, and I would like to say, like, oh yeah, and I did this and I'm that, but I wouldn't be anything like you know how they do the haughty shoulders. But you know, I wouldn't be anything without the blessings that have been provided for me. So honestly, that's really how I would introduce myself. Like,
fortunate and favored. I love
yes,
that might be my favorite so far. People have introduced themselves.
Yes.
Yeah. So the fortunate and favored.
Right. Favored.
Sharea Ayers. So we want to talk about Juneteenth. Before we do that, for anybody that doesn't know, there may be like one person out there somewhere that doesn't know that you are a dynamic team member here at Black Leaders Detroit.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about your role, what you do here, and something that you like about being on the staff at Black Leaders Detroit? No pressure.
No pressure, right. Like, so saith the CEO. But no, well, I am the Director of Events and Membership Growth for Black Leaders Detroit. And what that looks like is basically getting out here and selling the brand. Like, we practice equity in action through cooperative economics. And so my role and job is to make sure we are planning intentional events that activate Black entrepreneurs in this city, as well as events that's going to spread our message to make sure that people know what we do. And outside of just, like, when people hear we're a funding vehicle, they're automatically thinking of how they can get. But it's just also something that we need to discuss in regards to how they can give, you know? Right. Because I think throughout just being like a history buff, like, we've fallen off somewhere, you know, like,
do tell.
Because the thing is, it wasn't like we did not have very thriving communities that were Black owned, operated, and funded by us. And on top of that, there are several accounts throughout history, firsthand accounts, that talk about the collectivism that we all had to share, whether it was by default or circumstance or whatever else, or by choice. But the whole thing is, when you put a group of people together in certain oppressive situations, more times than not, they relied on one another and they were able to get out of those situations. Like, even when it came down to a lot of enslaved accounts, when they were on plantations and people were, you know, transcribing their stories, like, I've read several documents that was just saying, like, hey, we had to build family. Because if you just got sold to another spot and all your family is left behind, then guess what? I have to build a new family. This is now my new cousins or my new aunts and whatever else, and we're going to work together. So, like, throughout the years, we've all been in situations where we have to work together, but then somewhere, some things got lost and we started subscribing to these individualistic norms that's not even privy to our culture here in America. So with that, I say all that to say it's a beautiful thing to work at an organization that focuses on the fact that people can still be individuals, but we're going to be the collective pot for everybody else, you know? So that's what I like most about working here. I mean, the perks help, of course, but I never thought that I'd be working a job that was centered around helping Black people in our community. And it's just a very beautiful thing because I'm big on education and I'm big on economics. So it just makes sense for me.
That's what's up. No, yeah, I really well put. I really appreciate the way you shaped that and framed it. Somebody might think that you just started, working and activating Black spaces for entrepreneurs because of your Oh Here Black Leads Detroit, but that's definitely not true. Like, we met because you were raising money for Juneteenth Jubilee, and I can't remember what year it was.
21.
Yep. And that was like, how many years? Was that year 2?
No, that was year 3.
Year 3, right? So we met, you were already 3 years into doing this. That's what I love about us, though, is you point out some of those disconnects, right? There's also so many of us that have just, out of identifying a need and connecting with our purpose and kind of why we were put here, start something, right? So, yeah, talk a little bit about that, right? Like, this is not something new that BLD introduced to you. This is kind of who you are and what you are already doing.
Well, the thing is, for me, like I said, let me go back, excuse me. My mom was really big on making sure we learned and knew our history within the household. Okay. So the foundation was set for me. I just didn't know really what to do with it, but certain doors opened up, and now I'm here. But nonetheless, as it pertains to celebrating our people, like, it started a very long time ago. In fact, in high school, I was a part of Student Senate at Renaissance.
That was a long time ago.
I know, right? Like 20 years, baby. But back in the high school, actually, each quarter we had to do a project, right? So you could be a co-chair or chair of a project. And the thing that I love was that's when I really kind of learned about my autonomy. Like, our teacher just simply asked us what we were going to do and then asked us questions along the way in regards to how we were going to get there. Wow. So even back in high school, I was planning Black History Month events and seeing how, so like one of the biggest projects I did was, in high school at that time, was homecoming. And I'm like, I'm 17 years old. Like, but getting contracts with the Masonic Temple, making sure we had a Black person doing the decor for the hall, getting a caterer, you name it. Like, so early on, getting tickets, and even with that, like, I knew then when I was planning homecoming at 17 years old, like, I was going to use Black vendors. I was going to go to Black companies, like, to make sure that everything was going to be pulled off. But again, so it started back in high school, and then as I continued to grow and just be in different spaces, I just wanted to make sure our Blackness was recognized.
I love it. So yeah. So Juneteenth Jubilee, right? So I guess I just have to back up a little bit. One of the things I love about doing these is I get to kick it with people that I know. Then I always hear something new and fresh about them that I didn't know. Like, that happens with Ken, like, almost weekly. So,
right.
So yeah, no, thanks for sharing that. Juneteenth Jubilee. Can you talk a little bit about Juneteenth and about Juneteenth Jubilee? What's happening this weekend?
Yes.
And how people can get involved?
So Juneteenth is the oldest holiday that commemorates the end of enslavement, and it started off. Well, not started off. Excuse me, but it's a celebration because the Emancipation Proclamation was issued in 1863, and it wasn't until 2.5 years later that the news got to the enslaved people in Galveston, Texas. So with that, the Emancipation Proclamation initially was decreed to pretty much free the enslaved and rebellious states. And I say that because that's how you also got states like West Virginia, because they like, I'm going to stick with the Union and keep my slaves. So with that, the news didn't get to the people in Galveston until June 19th, 1865. And when they got that news, naturally they were happy and jubilant. And one of the things that I like about the things that I've learned about Juneteenth is that they put their money together to purchase Emancipation Park maybe a few years after, and that's where they celebrated Juneteenth. And so it's just really about, to me, like, it is important to remember how far we've come, but also like where we need to go. But one of the key things I want people to remember is that we have to celebrate. Like, so with that, we celebrate Juneteenth because it is about the end of enslavement and it's about liberation. So, and specifically, I think it's important to celebrate it here in a predominantly black city.
Okay.
And Detroit was also a very instrumental piece of the Underground Railroad. So just makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
So what do we have in store? What's going on this weekend?
A lot. So Friday, we're going to have the Beats and Barbecue kickoff at Batch Brewing Company. And there we have some entertainment. We're going to have a little toast with some strawberry saison or strawberry soda, because that's also relevant to the holiday. And we're going to have barbecue, which is a meal that's also relevant to the holiday, excuse me. So it'll just be an art walk and artist talk. And one of the artists that will be featured there, they're also going to have their own label on the strawberry saisons and sodas that, nice. Yeah, so another black entrepreneur that'll be put on. I'm pretty excited about it because she did a really dope job with that art piece. So that's Friday. Then Saturday morning, we have a 5K at Mary Grove Conservancy, and that one of the bigger sponsors for that was with Dr. J. Burns. And
shout out to Dr. J. Burns.
Right, shout out. So what I liked about it, though, was that she was saying, with it being Men's Health Month as well, she wanted to support the 5K. So it's just a Freedom Day 5K. We're going to go around Mary Grove, get some steps in, because we also know health is liberation as well, So, and also, unfortunately, all of this came about at a time my dad was dying. So just like the idea in regards to getting Juneteenth Jubilee going. But so it's really important. Like, y'all have to take care of yourselves, really.
No, agreed. So especially to the brothers out there, come and join us for the 5K. And, just let's take better care of ourselves. Like, we know that we're up against a whole lot as it relates to, all the things that we discuss in the barbershop and everywhere else. But like, let's not be against ourselves, right? Let's take care of ourselves. And, that camera should be a mirror, because I need to hear that just as much as anybody else. So, thanks.
And we all do. But again, we also, and I have to hold myself accountable as well, because even when we were talking about freedom and things of that nature, like health and wealth and education are always a thing, like similar things that will liberate you. Yeah. So, yep, we got the 5K. Then after the 5K, we're going to be on Livernois for a Black Business Stroll. It's going to be entertainment and HBCU tailgate. So we'll be highlighting a number of Detroit chapter HBCUs, and scholars can come out and learn about, various colleges and universities.
Okay.
And it include a Greek stroll off there too as well. So we got some Divine Nine members there. Then we're gonna have the main stage, which will include some entertainment that's family friendly, and BLD will be presenting grants to to a number of nonprofits. Also excited about that, because we'll get that good photo op and be able to continue to spread our message.
So I think BLD is going to be doing what, $25,000?
Yes,
or more, actually, a little bit more.
A little bit more.
Right. So at the very least, $25,000 BLD will be distributing and donating to some very deserving nonprofit leaders in the city.
Yes, and on top of that, like I said, it's just very important to activate that space and let people know what we do. And our members, like, so that's the biggest thing. I got to do the shameless plug. Like, we wouldn't be giving out grants if it wasn't for our members. So that's the biggest thing. Like, come out, celebrate the people who you support, who we support, and who are doing things in the community.
Yeah, you and I talk about members all the time, right? Membership and where we want our membership numbers to be versus where they are at times.
Yes.
So I remember when we talked about, you know, you maybe having a desire to come on staff, us definitely having a desire for you to join us as a team. But if there was any interest on your end, and you told me about like the reason that you believe the BLD could work, and also some of the things that inspired you. Can you talk a little bit about the book that you shared with me, what happened there, and how that resonates with you?
Yes. Well, first, I just want to say part of the reason why I was okay with BLD is because I had on some very wild glasses, and you still took me seriously. So, good stuff. But
I have teenagers that are growing up in this day and age, right? So it's like, and like I've been the person that didn't fit in, but I mean your eye game and your shoe game is fire. So like, you know, that if anything, that made me like feel like we need to have you on team even more.
Fair enough. But the inspiration for everything in particular was when I read this book called A Shining Thread of Hope during the pandemic.
A Shining Thread of Hope.
Yep, and it was about Black women's history in America, and I learned about a group of women called the Housewives League of Detroit, and it was the call was made by Fannie B. Peck. And 50 women joined at a time in the 1930s when it was the worst economic time period in our country because it was the Great Depression. So they had 3 criteria. It was to shop Black, buy Black products, and patronize Black professionals. And what they did was they went to local stores and merchants to see if they met that criteria, and if they didn't, they put them on a no-shop list. So during that decade or so, they were able to secure over 75,000 jobs for Black people. They grew from 50 people to 10,000, and it expanded from just Detroit to a number of Black cities in the Midwest. And I just thought to myself, like, first off, this is amazing.
Right.
Secondly, if they were able to do that at a time period where they did not have social media and they were under way worse oppressive situations than we were, like, what are we doing?
Right.
And that's the thing.
If we can't at least do that.
At the least.
It's like their efforts end up turning into just a passed on story. Right. And that's something that we should be able to do overnight with the access to technology. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, when you shared that with me, I was like, man, this is the person that's supposed to be leading us and growing our members, just because it was so obvious that you believed in it, but also the like reading the book and giving you exposure to it being possible to begin with.
Yeah. So. And that's the beautiful thing that I love about learning about our history. Like, so much stuff is possible.
Right.
You know, so many different things. And it's just a matter of, and that's another thing that I love about the work that we do, is that we're not just talking it, we're trying to shift culture, and we're working with people who believe in that. Yeah. And the thing is, at the end of the day, like, our issue is not just our issue, and everybody should be a part of making those issues eradicated.
Right.
And the first way you can do that is putting your money where your mouth is. So.
How much money does it take for somebody to put their money where their mouth is and become
$1 a week or $4 a month? So, you know, naturally it's simple. Or, as you always like to say, or more, like more than $52 a year. But again, at the least, you know, because as I was explaining to a buddy of mine, like, we're not trying to break the bank, we're trying to build it.
That's it. That's it, right? And as we describe ourselves as a funding vehicle, right? Vehicles need gas.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we need people to come on with a little gas money. Just a little bit, though, right?
Like, and it's a lot of moving parts of a vehicle.
There's a lot of moving parts, a lot of maintenance, you know?
Yeah.
And we feel like everybody really wants to and deserves to be a part of this movement.
Yes.
You know, we've been able to service about 330 business owners and nonprofit leaders in the city of Detroit, not to mention all of the vendors, right, that, again, to going back to when you were putting together homecoming, right? Like, we're very intentional about that. We know that, like, there's conversations being had about making sure that companies use at least 20% Black-owned businesses when it comes to, like, services that they need like, I think last time we checked, we were well over 70%, close to 80%. When you look at, the money that we spend and purchases and whatnot, like we are around 80%. So it's doable.
Yeah.
But we also feel like people deserve to be a part of that. You know what I mean?
We got a whole Black business directory.
Whole Black business
that
directory.
people can add to of a number of Black businesses in various categories.
Yeah. How would one access that directory?
Well, first off, they have to sign up for the newsletter, and it is posted in every newsletter. It's a link. But if they want to add to it, it's also a link to add to it. So that is a benefit of being a part of our organization as a member. But also, if you're just curious first, you can sign up for a newsletter and learn more there and start shopping Black.
Definitely. I appreciate that. Well, talk about some of the partners that we've
I'm sorry.
had.
We had digressed with
Yeah.
Sunday. We got the Freedom Fest on Sunday, and we'll be partnering with the Metro Detroit Black Business Alliance, the Detroit chapter of the NAACP, the Eastern Market Conservancy, the City of Detroit, the Charles H. Wright. Pretty sure I'm missing some people, but it's about 10 partners.
Nice.
That's coming together to put on a Freedom Fest down in Shed 5 and 6.
Sweet.
Yep. And so it'll be a nice little segment for dads, and it's a cool dads award because that is Father's Day. And in addition to that, it's going to be a celebration of hip hop because it's the anniversary. So
Okay.
yep.
Nice.
So it'll be dope.
So looking forward to that. And if you want to come out and shop on Saturday, obviously we're going to be distributing some money, but also you can come and shop at some of the stores over there. Anything special happening with some of the stores and store owners at all?
Teaser's Boutique is hosting a fashion show at 3 and 5 p.m.
Okay.
And Teaser's is also a very huge supporter of ours.
Yes.
Paulette, the owner, is always pushing BLD.
She walks it.
Yes, she definitely
for sure.
does. But it'll be a number of stores doing discounts, giveaways, providing some form of entertainment. But I'm trying to think if it was anybody else that really just kind of stood out. Outside of like a fashion show. But I don't know. Last year I was surprised because you know how our people are. They be late with stuff. So who knows? Somebody be telling me something today.
They want to participate.
Right. So we'll
right.
see. But then it's that mural unveiling too, near Felly Gallery. Okay. So that's another bigger thing there. So yes.
Okay. Is that what time do you have?
That's at 11.
11. Okay.
Yep. So to kick off the stroll, but we got a number of things.
Sounds good. So you want to tackle a segment?
Yeah. Let's
all
go
right.
for it.
So which one do you want to go? Angry Black Woman, Code Switching, You Know Nothing, Jon Snow, or I Gotta Fight Every Night Just to Prove My Love?
Well, let's go with Angry Black Woman.
So Angry Black Woman. So I'll set it up for those listeners or people watching it may not know. So this is kind of a response to when we have displayed the emotion of anger publicly, people, one, they've trained to be scared of us, you know what I mean, as if, I still don't, understand, mathematically how people call themselves being scared of us after all the shit we done been through. Excuse my language, or don't excuse my language, because I meant it just that way. But oftentimes, we police ourselves. We've been taught to police ourselves from even being angry, right? Especially publicly, because we don't want to be labeled the angry black man or the angry black woman, right? And I like to kind of flip that on his head or buck against that and say, look, I'm angry. I have things to be angry about. We have things to be angry about.
Right.
But along with being angry, I'm a lot of other things. But I'm not going to be shamed to where I can't, be upset and wear that emotion, when it's justified, right? So what is it that makes Sharea angry? I want to offer you the liberation or the liberty, should I say, to share with us what makes Sharea angry.
I mean, it's a number of things. I'm not going to lie. It depends on the day. But
don't take much. Does not take much.
But I mean, to be honest, like, I do think it's categories to the anger. Okay. But what makes me angry, honestly, is just I don't like when people don't take advantage of certain opportunities that people before us had to fight for. And I bring that up specifically because with having the opportunity to get out here and talk about Juneteenth, it's been a lot of people to say, like, well, they just gave us a holiday and they this and they that. Like, they didn't. 47 states were already celebrating Juneteenth. And not only that, we have a 100-year-old activist still alive that fought a very long time to make sure Juneteenth was a holiday, like a federal holiday. And it just makes me upset sometimes because, you know, I'm not discrediting anybody's opinion about anything, but know our history before you talk about what somebody less melanated gave us or did for us when it was us the whole time. You know, like.
That's good.
They didn't give us anything. We also fought to celebrate Juneteenth. You know,
can we tease that out a little bit? Go back to the conversation we were having yesterday. So no, I get why that would make you angry for sure. Yeah, it's like a rush to make a really strong stance and statement on something, and to like announce it publicly, and then start a conversation on your social media page, which is your social media page. If you want to do that, you do it. But it's like people be taking some really hard stances without having like collected real information and data, you know what I mean? And reposting stuff that somebody else said that sound good and all that. But as it is a national holiday, right? I'd be lying if I said I didn't have mixed emotions about that. Because everybody benefits from it. You know what I mean? It's like, you heard what I said yesterday. I'm like we should be the only ones getting the day off of work. You know what I mean? It's like, this is, though we share the history, right? We don't share the suffering in the same way.
Right.
I feel like there's suffering to be had in all communities because you reap what you sow, right? And there's no way you can do the type of harm that's been done to the indigenous people of this land and to the black people of this land. And I'm not trying to start a beef with somebody who's like, that's one and the same. That's another subject, you know what I mean? But there's no way that you can do that type of damage without you doing something to yourself as well, right? But if you're talking about practically the suffering, I feel like in a way, like we still just gave a lot of resources and money by a paid day off to communities that have not shared in the suffering the same way that we have. You know what I mean? So I'd be lying if I said that that's something. So maybe, you know, that's something that makes me kind of an angry black man. You know what I mean? It's like, take everybody else go to work. We get the day off. You know what I mean? And we should get that money that they make on that day should go into a pot to come to us. You know what I mean? Like, that's how I feel. That would be a Juneteenth Jubilee for me.
Reparations?
We can't call it that because people ain't ready for that conversation.
So I'm like,
let's get it.
Checks?
Black stimulus checks.
Like,
Juneteenth stimulus checks.
There we go.
Let's start there. You know what I mean? And we can start with just a 2-year piece. You know what I mean? Since it was 2 years, start with a 2-year piece just to get the party started. You know what I mean? Then we can come back and have a conversation after that 2 years is up.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, I think it could be ways to do so because, I mean, as I digress, I think about that even with my student loans. Like, I got a certain amount of debt, but we spend a little over $20,000 to properly clothe a soldier. Not saying that they don't need it, but when you think about that, 3 soldiers could pay off my debt.
I didn't know we spent $20,000 to clothe a soldier.
Yeah, like just from all of the things. So, you know, I just bring that up to say, like, and again, I have several family members who have served this country in the armed services.
We're not dissing anybody that serves. You know, like feel what you feel about the way that militaries happen and what happens, but
Right.
like we're not taking shots or stabs at anybody
Not at all.
in that space.
But I'm just saying that
But,
that's
you
an
can say the
example.
same thing about like folk that are incarcerated, right? Like what we
Right.
spend
to lock
to,
somebody up.
exactly. You know
So
what
it's
I
just
mean?
a matter of it's money
Yeah,
out there.
yeah,
But in regards to how it's dispersed or what taxpayers think is important in regards to the distribution of wealth and what it should go to, it's quite interesting to me.
yeah, for sure.
You
For
know,
sure.
because we know that black people stimulate the economy. We're the second largest consumer group in this country.
Yep. Yeah. So
Yeah.
you start me and you on this path of like angry black man, angry black woman. We might mess around and park there, but we don't park there. You know what I mean? We allow ourselves to be there and be angry, but it also inspires us and motivates us to take action, right? And the right type of action. You know.
Yes, and to do the work we're doing, because again, like the messed up part is, if not who, then if not you, then who? You know, like
that's it.
So
we're not waiting around for anybody else or the system to self-correct.
Right.
We don't have.
It won't.
Yeah, exactly. So we have to do the work. You have to do the work. We have to do the work collectively and together. And we hope that you'll consider doing that with us. And so,
if you don't want to do the work, pay so we'll do it.
That's
you
it.
know?
That's it.
Get that $1 a week.
Give the $1 a week, and we have signed up and got some people signed up that's willing to go on that journey.
Yes.
At Black Leads Detroit.
Yes.
So you're the hero. We just do the work.
Yep.
What? Any last words you want to leave with folk?
Outside of the pitch.
Look, whatever you want to say, however you feel moved. You know what I mean? This is your time.
No, overall, I would just want to say that, well, to our members, first off, thank you, because you literally are funding the work, and we're just out here as conduits for the equity that you believe in. And then on the flip side, I think it's also very, very much so important to come out and celebrate us, like come out for Juneteenth weekend. And if it's just for a moment, just for the simple fact that there's so many different things in this country that is negative when it comes to our people, like we deserve a time to celebrate and bask in the things that we have overcome in this country. Yes. And the fact that all three of us are sitting here in a space that we were not allowed to be in, it just speaks volumes. So we do have work to do. We are actively doing the work, but we also need to take time to celebrate the accomplishments that we've all made and the liberties that we have that other people did not have before us that look like us. And that's it.
That's it. That is it. Powerful.
Thanks.
Yep. So, y'all heard it from Sharea Ayers, Dwan Dandridge, BLD, and as we sign off, I think what you just shared and like triggered in me is like the lyrics to a Whitney Houston song and the hook where she talked about, and Martez will remember this because this is what kind of got me through year one on Ride for Equity, but the hook to your love is my love and my love is your love. Mm-hmm. And I think it goes, it would take an eternity to break us. The chains of Amistad couldn't hold us.